It was just 1 year ago that the Orleans Public Education Network, also known as OPEN, convened at the Dryads YMCA to kick off its One Step campaign. The campaign was a year-long venture to engage the entire New Orleans community in education reform. And joining us this morning to talk about the past year and what's next is the executive director of OPEN, Deidre Johnson-Burel, and board member Flozell Daniels. Good morning. Thanks for coming.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us.
First, what a great idea, getting the entire community involved in education. Where'd you come up with the idea?
Well, absolutely. I think it just comes down to if we are going to achieve excellence and sustain it, we have to have a public that is committed to sustaining it.
And my understanding is you're not just focusing on Orleans Parish, but you're broadening it out to the entire region
Well,
as
it's public education broadly. So we are really looking at what does it take to really build excellent schools, right? So how do we really look at what the core tenets are of excellence and really drive that from a systemic vantage point? Because we know that education is the root cause issue. So if you talk about economic development, you talk about crime, you talk about health care, right at the center of those is really improving educational outcomes.
Absolutely. And you don't care whether it's charter schools or RSD schools or the school board. You're looking at
We're looking at them broadly, because here's the thing, John. What we found in our analysis of the data is that there are really exceptional high-flying charter schools, and guess what? They're really exceptional high-flying direct-run public schools as well.
Now, are you getting involved? You're asking for involvement of the community. You're asking for people to get out there and share their ideas. Are you getting the kind of response that you need and you want?
We are, but you know, there's always room for more, right? We really want the broader New Orleans community involved. So we've had a community engagement framework where we've really reached out broadly to the community in what we call working groups. We literally have working groups across the city now in almost every neighborhood. We've engaged and touched over 1,000 New Orleanians in the context of this campaign and our participatory research. So we want more folks to really get engaged in this important conversation, but it's growing. It's a growing movement. We're excited.
Well, let me ask you this question. We talked about this a few moments ago. Are you afraid at all of the I guess the school board chaos theory? I used to cover the Orleans Parish School Board back in the day before Katrina, and some of those meetings were like three-ring circuses where you had people from the community, people with very narrow political agendas just commandeering the whole thing. Are you afraid of that interrupting your process?
It doesn't give us any concern at all, John. What we have found in the members of this community who founded OPEN, really a diverse group of folks who had an interest, to Deirdre's point, in student success, really focusing on what it takes to be successful and making sure that we engaged the entire community. We really are focused on factors at work. We're focused on engaging as large a sector of the community as possible, and we don't have a political framework, and so those things don't concern us.
Now, are there meetings that you hold regularly and you encourage people to come out for? What's in the future for this?
Absolutely. So in the course of the One Step campaign, one of the things that we've done that we've really been excited by, and it's really generated a lot of energy, is sharing best practices. So we really convene meetings where we bring in folks nationally, look at the national landscape, say what's best practice in this area. We look at the state, what's happening at the state level, and folks come in from the State Department, and then what's happening on the ground. And so we hold monthly convenings around those key topic areas. After the one-step convening, what will really take shape is a concretized format of policy formations to really focus what are the key gaps as a community that we should be focusing our efforts on.
Well, what will you do with those priorities?
We'll absolutely be working in concert at the community level, at the district level, and at the state level to begin advocating for movement on those. So we really think about action as both community action and what is our personal responsibility to move on these issues, as well as policy and school level action. And so at the One Step convening, one of the key areas that we'll focus on is making sure that we focus in those three areas.
I see, and you have a meeting coming up right here. We have the information
That's
on
right.
the screen.
There's a great opportunity for the community to come out in the now and be a part of shaping a citywide, a broader educational agenda that ensures that we focus on excellence. Because here's the thing, John. We've made great progress, absolutely, in this city, but Louisiana, unfortunately, still lags behind on almost every educational indicator. We are near the bottom. And so if we're going to build excellence to last, we have to set our sights well beyond anything that we've done thus far.
Now, is it safe to say things are getting better
We're absolutely
locally?
moving in a positive direction. There's some critical gaps that we absolutely need to address, providing a safety net for our most vulnerable children, in particular children in special ed and those students who are limited English language learners. But we are absolutely moving in a positive direction.
And we're seeing that hold true even in some of the suburban schools. Even Jefferson Parish Schools is saying that those specific problems are the problems that they have, as well as in Orleans Parish and all of the parishes in the area.
Absolutely. And there's another key area that we really need to start giving some attention to related to suspensions and expulsions. Like, kids can't learn if they're not in school, right? It's just a basic concept. And how do we make sure that we deal with whatever the behavioral issues or so forth that need to be addressed to ensure learning happens, but keeping our kids in school?
All right, let me put you on the spot here, since we're talking about education. Would you give us a report card overall for our public education in this area? Where do you think we sit, and where do you think we can go?
You want to start, Mr. Chairman?
Well, I'll start. I think, you know, John, one of the values that we have, if you look at the history of this country, and this is certainly true locally, education is at the center of everything that's been good and that has created progress. And so when you look at the challenges we have, specifically in high school graduation rates, specifically in being just not nationally competitive, but now we know we have to be globally competitive. We're interested in having a conversation with this community and taking action on those things that we know works. And we've seen progress with regard to some of the reforms post-Katrina. Quite frankly, John, we were seeing some of this progress at the school site level pre-Katrina. We weren't necessarily tracking it and following it the way we are now. And what we want to do is lift up and start from where we've made the progress to continue to see successes, but to also work with this community. And this is how we started this work, in defining what is quality public education. What we found is if you ask the average person, how do you define quality? It was really hard to get a definition that we could consent upon, that we could agree on. So we've been working, to Deidre's point, with hundreds, if not thousands of citizens in defining that quality and moving that agenda forward and taking action on that.
Well,
we think some progress has been made.
As they say, nothing succeeds like success. And again, you're inviting people to come out to the next meeting that's coming up, and there it is right there.
Absolutely.
Let the circle be unbroken.
That's
Join
right.
in. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're doing good work.
Thanks for having us, Jim.